I would like to pay my homage to the Triple Gems, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I would also like to pay my respect for our two venerables speakers, and also welcome back Sister Chenny. My name is Sakan Tim. I'm from Seattle, Washington, USA, and I'm here live with Sister Chatsapip. She is in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and we, on the behalf of the Dhamma Life Organization, would like to say thank you so much for joining us live with the Dhamma Talk discussion. So today is a very special day in English discussion. So our Dhamma Talk discussion is about refuge, and we will find out what is the best refuge for oneself according to Buddhism, and what refuge does Buddhism delivers to the world. What refuge does Buddhism or contributed to your lifestyles? And so stay tuned. We will find out more this insight from our speakers. So before we start our program, I would like to have our Sister Chatsapip introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Sister Sakorn. Yes, thank you. And first of all, I would like to pay my homage to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I would like to thank to all Pontes. And first of all, Ponte, Dhamma speaker tonight, and our speaker, Dhamma friend, lady and gentlemen, for spending time with us again tonight for our Dhamma talk. Indeed, it is our second talk show of the year 2021. Last week, the same topic we discussed in Cambodian language. So tonight, we discuss again on the best refuge, but it is conducted in English. And what is the best refuge for oneself according to the Buddhism? What refuge does Buddhism deliver to the world? And how, the refuge have Buddhism contributed to our lifestyle? We will discuss tonight together with our Dhamma speaker and speaker, Jenny. So before we begin, may I introduce our speaker? We have a great privilege to have our Dhamma speaker, Venerable Voti, for joining us tonight. My respect to Ponte. Ponte Voti Sir is the graduate bachelor degree and master degree in Buddha Dhamma from International Theravada Buddhist Ministry University based in Myanmar. Ponte currently resides at Kemararam Buddhist Temple, San Jose in California of the United States. Am I correct, Ponte?
San Jose, California.
San Jose,
not San Jose.
Oh, San Jose.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ponte, for your correction. So our next Dhamma speaker is Ponte Soktivi. My respect to Ponte. Ponte TV is the founder of our Dhammika Life Foundation. The foundation is a non-for-profit organization aiming at promoting the Buddha teachings. Ponte is leading and teaching Buddhism in English to help Dhamma friends to better understand not only the English terminology, but also the Buddha teaching. And I have a very great privilege together with Sister Sakon and few other friends to be his student. Ponte latest publication, maybe some of you have known, is the Dhamma terminology that try to compile the Khmer Pali and Romanized Pali Khmer English term, and it is very great resource for us to learn the Dhamma terminology. Currently, Ponte is residing at Camera Buddhiram Pagod Temple based in Seattle. Of the United States as well. So greeting Ponte for joining us tonight. Our last speaker is Sister Jenny Chim. Sister Jenny is the first generation Cambodian American, being the first in her family to be born in the United States. She has spent most of her life searching for a balance between the two identities as a Cambodian and American. I could imagine, how challenging, but it also can be a very exciting journey as well. She have always had a passion of serving others, and as a college student, she studied early childhood education and worked in a group home assisting children with behavioral and physical development delays, as well as a child care provider in a preschool setting. You have joined with our Dhamma live talk very often when we discuss about the child development. So your sharing have been quite helpful for us. So Jenny eventually landed a position as a chief at the preschool, sharing her love of food by providing nutritious and deliver meal to young children. Always, like feeling restless and having a need for a more creative outlet. I'm very impressed. She formed a band with her husband called Royal Ground as a way to explore the bicultural identity. The music is best described as house music with a Cambodian flavor. Very interesting. Right now, Jenny is stay-at-home mom and caring for her two children. So very pleased to have you join us again, Jenny, and a greeting again to our Dhamma speaker. So as we already know, our topic tonight is about the best refuge. And our audience who is now following our talk show, you feel free to leave your comment or question throughout the course of our discussion in the comment of our page. So I would like to begin first of all to refer to Ponte TV. Could you help us to understand better what is refuge when we say the best refuge? But before the best, what is the refuge, by the way? So please, Ponte.
Can you hear me right?
Yes, Ponte, we could hear you clearly.
Namatu Ratanatayasa, my homage to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And I would like to pay high respect to Most Venerable Simbuti from San Jose, California. Thank you for joining us today, and greeting all sisters, Sister Jenny, Sakon from Seattle, and Sister Jasopir from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So our discussion today will be focusing on the best refuge. But before we go on to discuss about what is the best refuge, we must firstly understand what is the refuge. What does refuge means to us? It could be different from individual perspective to refer to the word refuge. So for me, when I talk about the word refuge, I started to think about something that can bring us safety, security, something that can bring us joy and happiness, something that we can build confidence with. So that is the word refuge in general. But in Buddhism, if we talk about the word refuge, it may have a little bit different insight on that, and not just something that we can totally depend on daily life. You know, of course, as a matter of fact, we can divide on on a surface and then on the deep inside. Like we said, we depend on food to live, just like the Buddha expounded, Sappe Satta, Ahara all living beings depend on nutrition to sustain, to live on. So this is also a refuge to all living beings, but the refuge that we refer to in Buddhism is something that can be helpful for us in daily life, can be dependent on, can be sought after, can be recollected each and every day of our life, or most of the time. So that's why in the Buddha's teaching we have these terms as sarana, as sarana, something we take as a recollection, or in other words we have the word anusati. Anusati is a recollection, like in the 40 objects of samatha bhavana. We have 10 anusatis, Buddha anusati, Dhamma anusati, Sangha anusati, Jaga, Devata anusati, etc. So, in short, when we want to make something as our refuge, or something that can be our refuge, that thing must be reachable. That thing must be within us, so to speak. And that is just general idea of the term refuge that I refer to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ponte, for your elaboration regarding the term refuge in both simple but also in the Buddhism teaching. So I would like to also hear from Ponte Buddhi. When we're talking about the refuge, what do you understand about the term, and is there anything additional to what Ponte TV have mentioned, please?
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to express my understanding about the refuge. Actually, we need refuge. And why do we need a refuge? Because most people in the world, when they have fear, they need to have something to take refuge in order to make their life safe. Especially in the early history of human beings, most people are overwhelmed by fear. And they try to find many things to take refuge to protect their life from dangers. Some they take refuge in the mountains. Some they take refuge in the mountains. Some they take refuge in rain god. Some take refuge in sky god. The purpose is just to make their life safe and free from the danger. And in our human life, we have many kinds of danger, like danger because of enemy, danger from animal like snake, tiger, elephants, leopard, and so on, and danger from the suffering of life in the round of birth, and so on, especially danger of birth, old age, sickness, and death. That is called danger to our life. And in order to escape from these dangers or fear, we need to have something for our refuge to make our life safe and secure. And fear is the first reason, that is the first cause that lead to have religion in the world as well. Yeah, but in Buddhism it is said that When people have fear, they take refuge in different things, and some people they take refuge in the wrong way. So they cannot get rid of their suffering in life, or they cannot get rid of fear in their life or danger like that. Because they take wrong refuge, like I mentioned earlier, some person when they have fear, they take refuge in the mountain, in the forest, or in the rain god or sky god, and so on. The Buddha said such kind of refuge cannot make our life free from suffering in the round of rebirth and death. Normally, that kind of refuge can make us just temporarily safe, but not totally safe, So we need to find the best refuge in our life. According to Buddhism, we need to take refuge in the triple gem, that is the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. I mean, Buddha, Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, and Sangha, the Buddhist monk. And why do we need to take refuge in these triple gems? Can we get rid of fear or danger by taking refuge in these triple gems? The Buddha said that this triple gem is very precious things. It has immeasurable quality. When people take refuge in the triple gem, they can liberate from suffering in the round of rebirth, not just fear or danger in the present time. Normally, when people have fear, they take refuge in various things. But that's refuge just can overcome their fear or suffering temporarily, not totally cure from that fear and suffering or danger like that, So when we take refuge in the Buddha said, when we see the Buddha, you see the Dhamma. When you see the Dhamma, you see the Buddha, like that. So when you meet the Buddha, he also teach you the way, the right understanding to live your life to peace and happiness and free from suffering like that. And if you don't meet the Buddha in person or face to face, you just learn the teaching of the Buddha. And after learning, you can practice it in your daily life. Then that Dhamma also can help you to be safe and free from suffering as well. Mostly people who understand the teaching of the Buddha and those who do not understand the teaching of the Buddha, when something happen or problem happen in their life, the person who never know the teaching of the Buddha, they suffer most. But the person who understand the teaching of the Buddha, when problems or anything occur in their life, they just suffer very little. Because why? Because they have the knowledge of the Dhamma to train their mind, to make their mind strong, That's why they have like a kind of self-refuge by taking refuge in the teaching of the Buddha or the Dhamma like that. And I just give a brief explanation, and I give the opportunity to other one, and I will explain later on more about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pante, for your elaboration, and it is very interesting flow how you frame it. It starts from the fear. Because of the fear, people need to seek a refuge, or for the protection or for safety, and probably, not just probably, but if we choose the wrong refuge, we may not be able to be liberated from the suffering or from the cycle of birth, sickness, and death. what is also interesting when you point out, and similar to Ponte TV have mentioned, the best refuge is in the triple gem, which is the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. But soon we will discuss in more detail, because even when we say that we seek the refuge from the triple gem, maybe, we repeat it all the time, but maybe some people, or even I personally, before I don't really understand what does it mean. So we will discuss afterward, and we will seek your guidance further. But before moving on, I would like to hear as well from Sister Jenny, to you, when we say refuge, what do you think about the term?
Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you all again for inviting me to come speak. I always enjoy these discussions. So Bante Wuti and Bante Devi did a really good job kind of explaining in elaborate details of like what refuge is. And so I'll just keep it short and do a general term. For me, refuge is about finding solace, finding a place of safety and a place of peace. So, in the context that we are talking about today, it can be applied to the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. So the physical is the physical space of finding a place. And then the mental is like, where can you go in your mind to find refuge, to find peace? And then the spiritual aspect is like, for me, it's a way, the spiritual aspect is a guide for me to understand exactly what is, a safe space and what is the right place to take refuge.
Okay. Good idea.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. I like how you summarized the whole thing, the physical, the spiritual, and I think I missed the other part because like my computer was kind of a little down a minute ago. So,
mental.
What was the first part?
It's a physical, mental, and spiritual.
Physical and mental and spiritual, yes. It is very important to have all those balance. Thank you so much for sharing. Not only what I wanted to also want to know what is the best refuge for oneself. So I'm gonna ask Venerable Sok TV, what is the best refuge for oneself? To start with you first, Venerable.
Okay, thank you. This is a very interesting point for us as well as everybody else to really understand or find the best refuge for oneself. Just like we have discussed so far, what does it mean? What does it refer to, refuge? Something that can give us peace and joy and like a shelter, we feel safe at our own home, at our place, at our shelter. So in the same way, we must build shelter for, our life, not just for this current life, but the life after as well. So the best refuge, if we talk in this case, it refers to the sense of the teachings of the Buddha. It reminds me of a story in Mahaparinibbana Sutta. 3 months before the Buddha Parinibbana, he was very, very ill, almost dying. And that time he was dwelling at the village of Beluwa. And after having, bore all his ill with the great patience. So one day he seated in front of his Kantakudi under the shade of a tree, and then Venerable Ananta, his personal attendant, approached the Buddha and discussed, and he expressed this idea that the Blessed One would not enter Parinibbana or passed away without leaving instructions touching the order of the Sangha. So, and then the Buddha, out of great compassion, he replied that, Ananda, what does Sangha expect from me? because I have taught the Dhamma, which makes no distinction between exoteric and esoteric. The Dhamma the truth that I have delivered is for the benefit of all, not just for my own disciple, or not just for those who call themselves as a Buddhist, but in general, the truth that I have revealed is for the benefit of all beings in the whole universe. So do not depend on me, do not depend on anyone else. The Buddha went on saying, you must depend on yourself. You must make yourself as an island, as a support, as a refuge. You must take the Dhamma as your refuge, not anything else or anyone else as your refuge. And that he went on saying, what is the best refuge that one can take in? So he mentioned about the 4 establishments of mindfulness, what we call Chattaro Satipatthana, the mindfulness of the body, Kayanupassana Satipatthana, the mindfulness of the feeling or sensation, Vedananupassana Satipatthana, the mindfulness or awareness of the mind, Chittanupassana, and finally the mindfulness of the mind objects, Dhammanupassana. So whatever I said, this is the Buddha's word, is whatever I expounded to you that in this sasana, in this dispensation, can be a refuge to all beings. Here I refer to this way. This is the only way. Ekayino Mako Satanang Visotiya Soka Pariteva Tokato Manasa, etc. So he said, this is the only way. This is the way for the purification of all beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and distress, and for the realization of unbinding Nibbana. So this is the 4 establishments of mindfulness. So I just want to get back to what we were referring to what is the best refuge for ourselves. So what the Buddha expounded here to Ananta, that do not depend on him. Even he was the Buddha, he was the enlightened one, but don't depend on me that I can help you, to liberate you from suffering. You yourself must work hard in order to liberate yourself. So by the best refuge that one can take in here, what the Buddha expounded to his followers, is to depend on yourself. So depend on yourself means taking the Dhamma as your dependent, not anyone else, not anything else. That cannot be a good refuge or the best refuge for one. So you must work hard to liberate yourself, practice the Dhamma. Whatever the Buddha has left, his legacy is the Dhamma, and that is the duty of every follower to take the Dhamma and practice in daily life. And then we have the refuge for ourselves, just like when we say Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. I take refuge in the Buddha, or I go to the Buddha, I go to the Dhamma, and I go to the Sangha as my refuge. So here we take refuge in the Buddha does not mean that we ask the Buddha to come down and help us, in times of need, in times of emergency. Just like some people used to think they have misunderstanding, like they go to the temple, monastery, seeking help from the monk or asking the Buddha, by a lot of prayers they have in front of the Buddha image, asking for happiness, asking even some, asking for lottery, So that is not the right way to take refuge in the Buddha. We don't depend on the Buddha to help us liberate, but we just follow his footsteps. We follow his example, whatever he have come across, the way he liberate himself. So he all expounded in his Dhamma, starting especially mentioned in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, how his life have been, through the ascetic practices, rigorous practices, self-mortification and self-indulgence, but he could not attain the truth, the nirvana. So that's why he changed the way of his practice, and then he found the middle way, the Noble Eightfold Path, Ariya Atthangika Magga. And so he expounded this way, that this is the way which leads all being to the purification, to the overcoming of fear and sorrow, and liberate from the cycle of rebirth. And that should be the best refuge for one and all, not just for us as Buddhists, but for those who believe in the teaching, have faith and confidence in his teaching, in what he found, and then they practice and they gain happiness regardless of your religious belief, regardless of your nationality or whatsoever. So in summary, the best refuge in Buddhism is to depend on oneself in order to liberate from oneself. But in order to be able to do so, we must build our confidence in the teaching of the Buddha, in the enlightenment of the Buddha, and then we, follow by practice his teaching, like we have the saddha, the faith or the confidence. We have the panya, wisdom. We have to develop the four sublime state, Brahma Vihara. We have to develop, charity, meditation, and so on. These are the best refuge that we can take in. Thank you.
Sister, we cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Venerables, Timmy. I like the part where the four establishment of mindfulness. I know that in everywhere we go, we do have fear, and if we don't have control of that four establishment of mindfulness, we tend to linger and tend to look for things or take medications. And I'm pretty sure Jenny knows what I'm talking about. It's like a lot of stressful. And if we take control of ourselves and build our confidence within ourselves, doing the charities and be able to control of, that four establishment mindfulness, and then to continue to understand those the eighth pathway, then we have that total understanding where if there is things goes wrong, that we can tweak ourselves and bring that the stateful mindfulness within ourselves. And I would like to go with, ask Venerable Vuti, what I would like to know, what is the best refuge for oneself from you?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. Actually, the best refuge is to take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and Karma and its result. It means that we need to take refuge in the Buddha. And how can you take refuge in the Buddha? Because the Buddha is already passed away. Some person they raise a question like that. How can you take refuge in the Buddha? Because the Buddha already passed away. So how can the Buddha help you? It means that our physical body is impermanent. As long as it arising, it disappearing. So in the case of the Buddha, he already passed away, and we still say that we take refuge in the triple gem, that is the Buddha. We take refuge in the Buddha, it's just to recognize the Buddha quality. We just sing about his quality. Like the Buddha has compassion, the Buddha has purity of the minds, the Buddha has wisdom. When we know his quality like that, when we collect his quality like that, we can overcome our fear in our lives. That is a kind of refuge in our spiritual life, you know. And how can we take refuge in the Dhamma? The Dhamma is the teaching of the Buddha. The Dhamma is like a raft or junk we use to cross over the river. Normally, when we live in one river or one side of river which is not safe, it's conflicted with fear, many kind of fear or suffering in life. So we try to find a way to other side of the river to make our life safe like that. So Dhamma or the teaching of the Buddha is like we call a raft or boat which is used to cross the river that is not safe to the other side which is safe. So we need to know that, and we need to learn the teaching of the Buddha. And when we know what the Buddha taught clearly, we can apply it in our life to make our lives free from suffering like that. And it's not the way to cling the teaching of the Buddha. We should not cling to the teaching of the Buddha, or we should not have attachment toward the teaching of the Buddha. It is just like a boat that we need to take across the river like that. Nothing. And how can we take refuge in the Sangha or the Buddhist monk? Because sometimes people think that, oh, Buddhist monk also take refuge in me. They go for arm rounds from home to home, from the people house like that. So they also take refuge in the people or the or lay people like that. So how can they take refuge in the Buddhist monk? According to Buddhism, we can take refuge in the Buddhist monk by thinking that the monk is like the field of merit, you know, field of merit. So you lay people just come to sow the seed of ripe paddy or the seed of rice in the field. If you want to get the results from your paddy rice, you need to sow the seed first, right? And then when the seed grow up, it bear the fruit of rice like that, and then you can collect it. So we take refuge in the Buddhist monk in this way. It means that we need to sow our faith in the field of merit, that is so the faith in the Buddhist monk first. And then you perform good deed through the monk. And then when you have the good deed, it's a kind of your refuge in your life. Because according to Buddhism, there are two kinds of refuge, in outside refuge and inside refuge. Outside refuge means when we are human being born, we need to have outside refuge. Like when you are young, you need to take refuge on your parents. You need to rely on your parents to help you for many things, to feed you the food, to buy you the clothes, and to bring you to school like that. And sometimes we can rely in our friend or on our friends like that for help something. That is a kind of outside refuge. We cannot escape from this kind of refuge. We need to have in our daily life. And inside refuge, it means that we need to build our life to have capacity, knowledge, skill, and also need to build our life to have the knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha that can make you safe in spiritual life like that. So by having this kind of two refuges, we really can be liberate from our suffering in current lives or present life as well as in the next life, you know. We need these two kind of refuge, not just only one. I mean, outside refuge and inside refuge. We need outside refuge, like we depend on our parents, our friends, our teacher when we are a young child, when we are son and daughter, and when we are a student. We need help from our teacher, parent, and friend like that. Inside refuge, I mentioned again, that is referred to the inside quality, that is our knowledge, our skill, and especially knowledge of Buddhism that can help you to live your life happy. Okay? So the monk can show you the way how to practice, how to study like that, correctly according to the teaching of the Buddha. So you can take refuge in the Buddhist monk by sowing your seed or your faith in the Buddhist monk. And also we need to take refuge in the three gems. Yeah, not only just Buddhist monk, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. We need to take refuge in this triple gem. And when the Buddha passed away, the Dhamma, the teaching of the Buddha, did not pass away, follow the Buddha or like the Buddha. It still exists in the triple gem. In the Tripitaka. So in order to make the Dhamma help you, you need to study the Dhamma. If you don't study the Dhamma, if you don't practice the Dhamma, how can the Dhamma help you? And how can you say that I have the Dhamma as my refuge? Right? Yeah. And if you want to take refuge in the Buddhist monk, the Buddhist monk can teach you the Dhamma. Because the Buddhist monk stay in the temple and he study the teaching in the Buddha from the Tripitaka book. And when he has that kind of knowledge, he can show you the way, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, like that. And when you know that, you apply in daily life. So you can be free from sufferings, especially mental suffering. And just now you said that Satipatthana, Chattaro Satipatthana, the four foundation of mindfulness, is the best way to overcome suffering. I agree with that, because when I was in Burma, I used to practice this kind of method. It's very helpful in our lives, you know. Mostly we have two kinds of suffering in brief. There is physical suffering and mental suffering. Physical suffering, for example, when we are born, we have sickness, we have old age, we have death. That is physical suffering. And in order to escape from this suffering, for example, if we are sick, we need to find a doctor to cure our disease, to make our life safe and free from danger, that is danger of death and so on. And sometimes we have common suffering. For example, when you sit and talk for a long time, you feel pain at your waist and you feel numb at your thigh like that. So you want to get rid of this suffering, you just change your position from sitting to standing or to walking like that. So the suffering in your sitting posture will disappear by changing your posture from sitting to walking or to standing like that. So common suffering is concealed by the posture, that is sitting, sleeping, or walking, standing like that. It changes each other. And when we don't change our posture for many hours, it really makes us painful. Yeah. For example, if you walk 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, you will feel pain at your leg, right? And your pain at your walking posture will disappear if you take a seat on the chair and so on. That is physical suffering. And for mental suffering, we can get rid of mental suffering by applying mindfulness constantly in our daily life, especially mindfulness on the in-breaths and the out-breaths. When you can apply your mindfulness constantly in your life like that, the suffering in your mind will not appear. Because when you are busy to focus your mindfulness on any subject of meditation, like in-breath, out-breath meditation, you just keep it one pointedness of the mind to that object. At the time, the defilements such as greed, hatred, delusion, and envy, and attachment, and anger, and so on, they will not have the opportunity to happen in your mind or to conflict your mind. That's why you will be happy, and you will have happiness in your life like that. Mostly people have mental suffering because of lacking mindfulness, you know. Yeah. And when we when we not sleep, I mean that our brain still working. Sometimes our brain get very bad new or bad information. Sometimes we get good information, and that kind of information can make me happy or not happy. For example, if you get bad news or bad information, you might be sad or you have mental suffering like that. But if you get good news or good information, you feel happy. So this kind of thing, sometimes it can cause you to have mental disease or mental suffering, you know. And this kind of thing can happen only when you don't have mindfulness. If you still apply your mindfulness constantly on any subject of meditation, then you don't have time to think about this, about that, but just focus your mind at the object. So the other defilement or outside or inside defilement cannot have opportunity to happen in your mind or to conflict your mind like that, to inflict your mind, sorry. Yeah. So you will be happy and safe and free from mental suffering. So I think for foundation of mindfulness meditation is very helpful for us. But it can help us only when we apply in our daily life or when we practice it, especially mindfulness meditation, we need to practice it. If you don't practice it, it's nothing for you, you know. not helpful for you. Yeah. It is like the medicine of the doctors. If you are sick and the doctor told you to take medicine to cure your sickness or illness, and you know that medicine can help you to cure your disease, but if you don't take it, how can it work? Yeah? You still be sick, right? You are still sick. Yeah. So we need to take it. In case of the teaching of the Buddha, is also the same. When you know, you practice, you apply it in your daily life, so it will be helpful for you, and it can be your refuge. Yeah. And the other one is the bad refuge. You need to take refuge in your action. Action means karma, and it result means phala. Yeah. So if you do good action or you do good deed, that kind of things can be your refuge here and hereafter. For example, you have confidence in yourself that if I do only good deed, I do only good action, so my result must be good. Yeah. That's why you have confidence in that. So that good deed and its result is also a kind of your refuge, you know. And think that is the best refuge. I think the best refuge we take refuge in only the triple gem and karma and it resolve. Yeah, just that. Thank you. So you can add any point if I don't have enough explanation. Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable. I like you brought up the part where it's the external part of the refuge, which we depend on our friends and our relatives, our parents.
Yeah.
And then the internal refuge is the refuge that we have to build within ourselves through the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And I like the part where you said that take your refuge in the action of, to have good karma. If you have refuge bad actions, then it will be bad. And so the part that you also mentioned, the point where it says that we must practice, just like a doctor, for the four foundation of the mindfulness. So we need to act in a very in a good direction, to just like taking our medicines to keep our body or to keep our cholesterol good or something like that. That's very good. Thank you. And I want to turn over to Sister Jenny. So what is the best refuge for oneself, Jenny? If you could just give us a little bit more insight from your experience. Thank you.
Sure. I think that for many of us as lay people, Buddhism and the Buddha Dharma can be very confusing at first, especially when we're really new to it, or maybe we weren't born into the religion and we weren't raised on it. And so oftentimes when I hear, before I studied Buddhism more in depth, when I would hear people talk about aspects of Buddhism, it was very, very confusing for me. And, it's really hard to know where to start. And so, I can give a practical advice or my own personal story of how I developed and have taken refuge, find my best way of taking refuge. And, one thing that I think is important is to find a place where you can be alone with your thoughts and reflect on your daily life or contemplate deeper thoughts. And you can start with what you already have where that, it's easily accessible. So your home can be a place of refuge. A favorite place outside, like a park, can be a place of refuge. An activity can also be a good refuge. A favorite place, walking, driving, even doing the dishes can be a good activity just to kind of de-stress. And again, when we talk about refuge, it's all about finding a place of safety and solace. But being alone with your own thoughts can be very stressful, and you maybe can't become overwhelmed with life's trouble, and you may be consumed with your emotions, and it can lead you to feeling depressed. And as you can imagine, if you're not trained, in the right way, it can actually be dangerous to be alone with your thoughts. And so that's why it's important to develop and practice good spiritual practice. That's where taking refuge mentally and spiritually into the Buddha Dharma can be of great help. And sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. Taking refuge mentally and spiritually into the Buddha Dharma can be of great help. It's within the teachings of the Buddha. It's where you can begin to find guidance into knowing what's good and what's bad practice. It could be kind of like a guiding light for one. That's what it was for me. And it's, again, studying it on your own is very difficult. And so for me, when we say to take refuge in the Sangha, I realize that it's really important to surround yourself with people that's part of a Sangha, that's part of a group that is learning and developing their understanding of the Buddha Dharma as well, which is typically at a temple or monastics, but even lay people. That can be a really great help to again, when you read the Buddha Dharma or when you study, it's really confusing, and so you're always you always want to find somebody or a place where you can safely explore your kind of your inner thoughts that maybe it's not the right way of looking at life, or is not the right, maybe you don't have the right habits, and you're maybe looking for a better way to handle the fears. And I think, we can explore that a little deeper. But in general, finding a place to be alone with your thoughts is a really good start to just having time and space, because in this modern world we're constantly getting messages from the outside. Many things are telling us what's right and what's wrong, but we oftentimes don't take the time to ask ourselves, is this right, is this wrong? And the Buddha Dharma the teachings of the Buddha really can help guide you. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but both Bhantes did a really good job expounding, so I just feel a little, don't know where to explain a little bit more, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Sister Jenny, and also Bhante, for your sharing earlier. And I think for our audience, you can also share with us what is the best refuge for yourself as well. You can share with us. I think given time constraint as well, we have a number of interesting questions to discuss. But I would like to hear probably from Bhante TV. Like we talk a lot about the Buddha teaching and the way that the refuge that we can seek in oneself, but according to the Buddha teachings. So what refuge does Buddhism deliver to the world? Can you share with us, like how the refuge that the Buddhism have delivered, please?
Yeah. So to mention about this point, to make it clear, I think it would be best to just, kind of tell your story, like how did you begin your journey into the teaching of the Buddha. So I myself, I have been placed to live in a temple. Let's say I have been encouraged by my parents to stay in the monastery with the monks I was 7 years old. And after 2 years of training and, learning the scriptures and chanting, I was able to be ordained a novice monk at the age of 9 years. And since then, I started my journey through the Dharma, started to learn the Pali scriptures, started to learn the Dhamma and Vinaya until I graduated from the Buddhist high school, and then went on to Myanmar, and with BA graduation, and then went on to Sri Lanka. So yeah, along that way of learning, there was practice that we have been developing along the pariyatti. When we say pariyatti, it also means we are also trying to learn how to practice with whatever we have learned. So Buddhism has contributed to my life, countlessly, let's say. I would not imagine how my life had been without Buddhism, without the teachings of the Buddha, because as you see, I started to live in the temples I was 7 years old until now, So it's been a great journey. I really, enjoy my life as a monkhood. I really feel free, feel detached from worldly belongings and sensual places and all kind of things that stuck, people in the idea of world, in the idea of self. So it's kind of like I find the best shelter for me, that's seeking a refuge in the teaching of the Buddha. So I spend most of my life in the temple, living in the temple, and be surrounded by Dhamma friends, Dhamma supporters, and donors. Wherever I stayed, even in Cambodia, in Burma, in Sri Lanka, now in USA. I feel very happy, in this lifestyle of mine, being under the shelter of the Dhamma that contribute me a lot of peace and harmony, security, seclusion, the way of life which I really like, and the way of life that I would recommend people who are in need of, mental shelter. So if we say what has Buddhism delivered to the world in terms of refuge, I would say the Dharma. And as most venerable Buddhi already mentioned, that all religions in the world can be traced back from the root of our fear. We fear in terms of danger, so we seek help. We seek refuge in things we believe that it can help us to liberate from that kind of fear. But basically, some of us, or most of us, previously might have been sought in a wrong way, that they think that is the best refuge to liberate from themselves. But fortunately, we have come across the Dharma, which is the reality, the ultimate reality, which initially, can liberate us from, truly liberate us from suffering, not just suffering in life, but the total suffering, the total eradication from suffering, not just from this current world, So I think the base refuge that the Buddha or Buddhism has gifted to the world is the Dhamma, which is, the most precious thing, which is invaluable, cannot be compared by anything. The Buddha did not give us, budget any amount of money or support us with the economics or with physical materials or support. But in terms of the spiritual shelter, spiritual guidance, he has delivered to all beings in this universe without any discrimination, whatever races, culture, language you have. But if you practice the Dhamma, and then the Dhamma will protect you, the Dhamma will help you. If you, learn the Dhamma, you have the idea of life, you understand the reality, the way of life, ultimately. And that is, in short, the base refuge that Buddhism has contributed to my life, as well as to the universe, beginning to my thought. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pate, for your elaboration on this point. Now I would like to turn to Pante Buddhi. We talk a lot about, to seek refuge, and Ponte's TV had mentioned, about having the refuge in our own self. So as we learn the Buddha teaching is the Atanao Nirtao. It's talking about the self here. So how can one make one self refuge if there's no self? We're talking about anatta, the non-self that expounded in the three universal marks of existence. So can you help to enlighten us here, please, Pante?
Okay. So how can make yourself as your refuge? Because according to Buddhism, Buddha said it is non-self, no self. So if there is no self, how can you make yourself as your refuge? First, I just want to say thank you to Buddhism. When I come to live under the rules of Buddhism, and study the teaching of the Buddha, it can make me know right and wrong, what is good and what is bad. People in this world, most of people, they don't know what is good and what is bad, you know, they don't know. I think some of you also don't know what is good and what is bad. According to Rahula Sutta, Rahula or Vata Sutta, mean that the Buddha said to Rahula, "Oh Rahula, whatever action you do to other and it brings suffering to yourself, you should not do that because it's not a good way to do. Because when the action that you perform just bring happiness to other and bring suffering to you, it is not a good way. It should not be done. And if any action that you perform to other and it make you happy or you make you have happiness, but it brings suffering to other, you also should not do it. It's not good. It's a bad thing. And whatever action that you do, it brings both happiness to yourself and to other. So you should do it because it is a good thing. That is the main point of goodness, you know. So if you do something and good to yourself and good to other, you should do it. If it's just good for you and not good for other, you should not do it. And it is good for you, good for other, but not good for you, you also should not do it. But it is good for both, you should do it. That is the right thing to do. And also come back to the anatta. So, you know, when before the Buddha appear in the world, most of people, they think that they have self. And when they have the body, they have the form, it means they have self. But when the Buddha got enlightenment in the world, he said that there is no self, it is non-self, anatta. So how can you take refuge in yourself if you don't have even yourself, you know? Okay? How can you take refuge in yourself even though you don't have self? And normally you mentioned, just now you mentioned about a religious proverb that said, Attahi Atanaunatha. It means oneself is a refuge of oneself. Actually, I already mentioned two kinds of refuge, like sister also said after me. She said external refuge that cannot be avoided in living in society. We need to depend on each other, but it is not a kind of bad refuge, you know. You can take refuge only in your internal refuge. Internal refuge, it means that you need to take refuge in your good deed, in your capacity, in your understanding, and in your knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha. That is a internal refuge. It is the best refuge. For example, if you have good morality, you have good capacity, you have good knowledge, when you apply for a job at any company or any organization, it really easy for you to be accepted as a staff there because you have already refuge in yourself, you know. It means you have already had internal refuge. So when you want to depend on the other person will be easy to accept you because you have very, very good refuge already. Like some proverbs say, one proverb said that if you want to help if you want to you want God to help you, you need to help yourself first. We mean that help yourself first. It means that we need to help to build ourselves to have knowledge, capacity, skill, and understanding of the teaching of the Buddha. We need to build ourselves to be moral person like that. That is a kind of refuge that can help you. Before the God help you, you can have that kind of refuge. You know, that is a very refuge for you. The other person can help you, but that kind of help cannot complete, you know. They cannot help you for everything. Like the Buddha, he just showed you the way to liberate your life from suffering, but he cannot do it for you. You just try yourself, practice yourself, and follow his advice or guidance to make yourself free from kind of suffering. So, even though our physical body is non-self, it's non-self because we cannot cling to it that, please, my physical body, listen to me. My body should not be old. My hair should not have a white color. You cannot command it like that. So the Buddha said, oh, it is non-self. If it is our self, it will listen to our command, or it will follow our desire. Whatever we want, our physical body, our self will follow our desire. But no, it's not like that. It's go according to the natural law, you know. So, according to Buddhism, even our self do not have self. It's non-self. In conventional truths, it's just we say that we have self, you know. When the Buddha appeared in the world, he said that our self is not our self. It's anatta, non-self. So if you say that you don't have self, so now you have physical body. So what should you do? You want to sell or to throw away your physical body? You know? No, we cannot. But we can try to get rid of attachment to our physical body. It means that we have just a cell that is just basic for us to practice, to learn, to practice, to build our quality, to have knowledge and understanding, and so on. Because self is impermanent, that's why the Buddha said it is not self, it's non-self. If it is permanent, when we have self, we have it forever, but it's not so, not so. You know, after it arising, it disappearing. For example, after you are born, and then when you get old, you pass away. Your physical body, your self will be cremated and nothing more on the earth. So only good deed can be our best refuge in our life. It can help us here and hereafter. Good deed is our best refuge here and hereafter. If your life you don't have good deed, it's not meaningful, you know. At least while you are living in society, in this human world, you should try to be a good mother, good wife, good grandma, and so on. A good husband, good father, and so on. That can make your life meaningful, you know. Yeah. If you cannot do good to others, at least you can do good for yourself. That is good deed. That good deed is your refuge and make your life meaningful in this world, right? I think so. Yeah. And for anatta, anatta is non-self, but you can take refuge in yourself because of you build yourself to have knowledge, understanding, like that. And you just think that our physical body is not self, but it's a kind of basic for us, or it's very important for us to have self, because when we have self, we can develop our self with understanding, with knowledge, and do many things, especially good deed and so on. We just think in that way. Yeah. It's just a basic for us to do good thing when we have self, but it is not our position, it's not our true position. When we have self, it is just a conventional truth, like I said earlier. For example, I have car, I say like that, I have car, I have home. It is just indirect position, indirect position. Because you cannot control those things forever. It will separate from you, and sometimes you separate from that material thing. We can say that house, car belong to me. It's my my possession, right? Concept, yeah. But it is just indirect possession, not direct possession, because you cannot control it forever. Even your life, you cannot control it for the whole life. Sometimes the life go away from your physical body. Our life is not like the person who travel from one place to another, and our physical body is like a guest house. Normally guest house, it has a person who come to stay it just for a while, like stay for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, and then they go away. Yeah. Yes. And our body is the same. When you have body, like it is like a guest house, just for the life come to stay in your physical body for a while, and then the life go away. I mean, depart from your physical body like that. Then it is said you die, you pass away. So you don't have self. Because self is impermanent, it's suffering, it's not self, right? So when you have self, you can build your refuge. Just it is the basic of you doing good deed for you when you have life like that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Pante, for sharing very insightful thought regarding non-self, and when we talking about how can one make oneself a refuge if there's no self. So thank you, and I would like to also hear from Pante TV if you have anything to add on this matter of no self, please, Pante.
Okay, so I just want to say a few words. As Venerable Buddha already mentioned in detail, that what if there is no self, and how can one making oneself as a refuge according to the teachings of the Buddha taught in the Dhammapada. So we have to understand that the Buddha expounded the Dhamma based on 2 truths, Sajja, Panyati Sajja, by ways of conventional truths, the way we communicate, we use the conventional language, the way of the world, just for the sake of daily communication. So just like the word self, myself, yourself, himself, herself, it's just an indefinite or reflexive pronoun just to refer to this person or that person, it's by means of panyati. And another Satya, which the Buddha expound, is the ultimate reality, Paramatta Satya. So when he say, make yourself as a refuge, which means we ourselves have to work hard in order to liberate ourselves. No one else will come and save us. No, any God comes down from heaven to, to liberate us from suffering. We have to work by ourselves. But we understand that the teaching of anatta is very broad idea and very insightful, not just understanding on the surface, otherwise it can be misunderstood. And still some people, like in the Western world, they still not, some do not accept the theories of anatta because they have not understood this subject in depth, So I just would like to point out a little bit that because of we have been deeply rooted by the idea of the world and by the attachment we have within our life, just like the teaching on anatta, which trying to explain that we have deeply rooted with the idea of self-protection because of fear. So we seek for self-protection, and the other one is self-preservation. So with the idea of self-protection, man has created God, on whom he depends for his own protection. And then for self-preservation, man has conceived the idea of an immortal soul or self, which we call Atman or Atta. So the word self here in Buddhism does not refer to in the sense of immortal soul. If we talk about the immortal soul or immortal self that lasts forever, so this is against the theory of the teaching of the Buddha. But the self which the Buddha used in this context of the Dhammapada, it just refers to a reflexive pronoun to reflect on, someone or this person or that or person. So anyway, it just come back to taking refuge in the Dhamma as the best refuge, but not our physical body, not our consciousness, not the five aggregates. They can't be our refuge, but only the Dhamma that we contemplate through the five aggregates there, and then can be our best refuge. Thank you.
Sister Sakon, we could not hear you.
Hi.
Sister Sakon, you should unmute yourself, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Something wrong with the button. So our time is running out. We would like to hear a little short message from everyone, from our speaker. So I will start with Sister Jenny. Just a very short message for us and our audience. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. For me, learning about Buddhism has been the best refuge. Like I've spoken before, Buddhism has really shifted my perspective and my view of the world. And before learning about Buddhism, I was very actually nihilistic, and I had a very nihilistic perspective about life. Reflecting about that time in my life now, I think that my nihilism led me to be depressed and mentally not healthy, which affected my physical and my spiritual health. But once I became interested and I became interested in learning about the Dhamma, I was able to see how precious it was to be born as a human, and that I shouldn't take this opportunity for granted, and that I should dedicate myself to doing good and not harm myself and not harm others. And by studying the Eightfold Path, I'm guided to understand in depth what it means to do good. And so I encourage anyone listening or at all interested in Buddhism to, begin by just taking that Eightfold Path or just contemplating the Four Noble Truths.
Thank you. And Venerable Vuti, would you like to give us just a little message that we can take away from you?
Yes. I just want to emphasize again about the best refuge. The best refuge is taking refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and Kamma, and its result. And also, I would like to emphasize about anatta, not self. So if we don't have self, so can we make ourselves as refuge? Here, I just want to mention that when we have self, our self or our physical body is like a tool, you know. It's like a tool or a mean to use to develop us to have understanding or spiritual progress, spiritual growth for our lives. Because only that quality can be the best refuge for us, even here in this life and life after, you know. So our physical body is just a tool used to develop understanding, knowledge, and especially the knowledge of the teaching of the Buddha. And Venerable Suktavi also said that Dhamma is real refuge, the best refuge for us. We cannot depend on our physical body. Physical body is just a tool to develop ourselves, to have that kind of quality, right? But it's impermanent, you know. Only the teaching of the Buddha is the best refuge. Finally, I want to say like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good point.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask Venerable Suktavi, will be your last word for our audience and for us that we can take away?
Yes, we cannot depend on something which is impermanent, something which is decaying, something which is broken, something which is changing, something which is suffering, as our refuge. So I just want to put one question for audience to kind of, ask yourself, do you have a true refuge for yourself already? So think about this and ask yourself if you truly have the best refuge for yourself. So far we have been discussed in this discussion what the best refuge means to you and to us. So in short, practicing good physically, mentally, and spiritually, and try to build your confidence in doing good to have yourself and to have others, and that should be the best refuge for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ponte and Sister Jenny. Our Dhamma talk now come to the end. I'm very thankful to our Dhamma speaker for your insightful sharing tonight with our audience. And I hope our audience can gain more knowledge regarding the refuge and find the best refuge for yourself. We're talking about self again, but yeah, we understand that, about the non-self. So I would like to also thank to Sister Bupka, who kindly offer technical support as always, so that our Dhamma talk can be possible. Last but not least, our sincere thanks to our Ponte TV, who have instructed but also initiated this Dhamma live talk every Friday. We have our discussion one a week in Khmer language, and the following is in English, and our Dhamma friend who always follow our discussion. Thank you so much. And now, before we end, we would like to invite our Dhamma friend to join for Metta meditation in with Ponte Kassapa with his recorded voice, be leading, and maybe may the merits of our sharing tonight be shared with all living beings. I am Supiep, tonight moderator with Sister Sakon. We would like to thank and goodbye. Our metta meditation begins.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. Let us practice loving friendliness meditation for oneself. Self-loving friendliness meditation is the first section of metta meditation. Self-loving friendliness meditation is designed to direct you to happily take care of yourself, to honestly forgive yourself, to truly accept yourself without conditions. Before starting, please find a very comfortable posture. Close your eyes. Relax your head, your shoulders, your arms, and your entire body. Please slowly take a very deep breath 3 times. When it is done, let your breath flow as naturally as it does. Observe your breath without judgment, reactions, and criticism. Just merely observe it as the way it is while you are listening to my Pali Metta chanting. Aham Now, please create a very tender smile on your face. Visualize your happy and smiling face. You are a very happy person with smiling face. Please keep smiling with honest heart, because you are going to bless yourself. Please be aware of the phrases which I am going to recite, and let yourself honestly feel the real meanings of the phrases. May I be well and happy. May I be free from hatred. May I be free from ill will. May I be free from anger. May I be free from physical and mental sufferings. May I take care of myself happily. May I take care of myself happily. May I take care of myself happily. Now, take your right hand and place it on your chest, and you can mentally repeat after me. In this home, we are family. We live under the same shelter, so we must be kind to each other, be compassionate to each other, be friendly to each other, help each other, respect one another, be happy every day, keep smiling with honest heart, be grateful, be positive, forgive even when it's really hard. Before open your eyes, please take again a very deep breath 3 times. Thank you. May you be well and happy.